Hi there, my name's Lee, I work for Micro Scooters, and today we're just going to give you a little bit of input on general maintenance of your scooters, how to look after them, and what we use in the workshop. Right, so these are the three products we use in the workshop. We use a product called GT85, WD-40 and some Light Oil 3-in-1, and I'll show you how we use them and where we use them in the workshop. So with regards to maintenance of the scooter, there is no substitute really for just keeping it clean. And we're not saying every time you use it, make sure it's clean. And what we would say is if there's any leaves or any mud or any debris around the wheels, in here, or especially underneath in the back wheel, is try and get it out, because that will hold on to the moisture and that will increase the deterioration of your wheel bearings. So there is no substitute for keeping your scooter clean and tidy. Whilst the instructions do say that you should be using them in the wet and that you should only use them on road, we do realise that that's not always possible and they do get dirty. But if you look after them, your scooter will look after you. With regards to where we would use different products on this scooter, these nursery range with regards to the Mini and the Maxi, they are pretty self-sufficient really, and they don't really take a lot of maintenance, but there is a few things that we can do maybe to try and increase the longevity of the scooter. Sometimes you may well find that this starts getting a bit stiff going up and down. Yeah? So what we would just generally use is a little bit of the GT85 just to spray on the stem, yeah, just lightly, push it up and down, and that will ease on the friction. Also, the push button that's inside there, yeah, maybe a few drops every now and again of 3-in-1 oil. Let's just hold it on its side and just a few drops down there. Press it up and down, give it a lubrication. Again, this will stop that seizing up. And the other thing is where this clamp folds, where the two plastic bits join in there. Again, another bit of your GT85, just a little squirt in there. It just helps with regards to the friction and the folding mechanism of the clamp, and it will just increase the longevity of the scooter. What you want to be resistant of is just spraying or oiling around the bearings, because as you can see when it comes new, they are quite dry, the bearings, because they are sealed. If we start putting loads and loads of oil around them or on the inside here, all that's going to do is attract the dirt and the grit, and that's not going to do the bearings any good at all. So try and keep them as clean and as dry as possible, and just them extra bits there with regards to the stem, the clamp and the button. That will hopefully increase the longevity of your Mini and Maxi scooters. Right, so with regards to the aluminium scooter, because they've got a more moving part, there is the real potential that they need to be looked after a little bit more. And again, as I said with the nursery range, there's no substitute for keeping them clean, and that's washing them down and rinsing them. But there is a few things extra we can do with these is to help with the lubrication because of the moving parts. The main part that we, as time goes by, is these buttons. Yeah, spring-loaded buttons. They may become a little bit stiff, and if they start becoming a little bit stiff, then it's going to be difficult to fold. And what happens is we might get little grooves that appear inside of here. It's going to make it really difficult to solve. But what we do in the workshop is that we can lubricate these, and we would advocate that you do exactly the same periodically. So what I'm going to do is, all of the folding blocks we use are more or less the same, and they have these spring-loaded buttons on the top. Yeah. So what we do is we flip it over the other side, and we use WD-40, not to lubricate it, but just to give it a clean. So we're just going to give it a little squirt. Yeah. Push the button up and down, and that will tend to wash out or rinse out any of the dirt and the grime that may well have caught in there. As you can see, all the dirt is starting to come out. Yeah. But then what we do, it's got some 3-in-1 oil and just a couple of drops. Yeah, let it work its way down, and again keep pushing it up and down, and the 3-in-1 oil does the lubricating. The WD-40 has cleaned it, and the 3-in-1 oil does the lubricating. And some of these folding blocks have 3 of these, some of them only have 2. So however many you've got, repeat the same procedure. The other area that you may well find is this push button. This push button becomes a little bit stiff. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that out again with this button it just moves in and out. Yeah? And again what we would do, a little bit of WD-40, give it a squirt, spin round, up and down, and let it drop out, and again then another couple of drops of 3-in-1 oil. Things, if we start putting too much oil, then that will attract the dirt. And all we need to do then is just screw that back in. And make sure that's tight. Perfect. The locking clamp, that can have a little bit of a clean as well. Again, what we'd probably use this GT85 just to give it a little bit of a squirt inside this area here, just to stop the resistance of the clamp. Another main area you want to be careful of is this area here, because this does attract a bit of grit and dirt. Yeah, so just make sure you keep that clean, so that's in the folded position, unfolded position, make sure it's clean, and use the GT85 just to spray over this plastic area here, and that just helps with the movement of the folding and the unfolding. This is a bit like WD-40, but what it does do is it leaves like a PTFE film over there, which dries off and it just doesn't attract the dirt and the grime and the grit that WD-40 may well have done. So that's with regards to lubrication. The only other thing is you might, if this is a little bit stiff as well, just make sure the clamp's adjusted up properly, and again a tiny little bit of GT85 spray on that, and that will help with the lubricant, and a little bit inside the clamp there. Yeah. So that's what we use in the workshop with regards to lubricant. What I'm going to do then is I'm just going to run through what we would say is a relatively good service that you can do on your scooter with regards to maintenance. So now your scooter's clean and it's all been lubricated up, we're just going to go through and run like a clockwise session around the scooter just to make sure everything's tight. And if we use that method, then we're not going to miss anything. So with the Allen keys you provided, we make sure this back axle's tight. So we're going to go around the scooter in that way. So make sure the back axle's tight. And we're going to come right to the top. Make sure the grips are okay, the bungee cord's okay. Yeah, work our way down the stem. There's a little 5mm Allen key there. Just make sure that's adjusted up nicely for your clamp. Come down the scooter here. We've got two 5mm Allen keys here. Just want to make sure that they're tight. You pull them in a little bit, if they do need tightening up, a little bit at the bottom, a little bit at the top, a little bit at the bottom, a little bit at the top, pull it up nice and square. These two big nuts here, they should remain tight, they're part of the headset. If they don't, then you've got a couple of options. You can take it to a bike shop and they'll adjust them up to you, or you can send it in here to us at the workshop and we can do that for you. That's them there. With regard to these two, again, 5mm, one each side, make sure they're tight. Go straight down to the front axle, make sure that's tight. Come back along to the folding mechanism and to the clamp. Yeah, I'm just going to squeeze that round. We make sure that's tight. And this thing here, this is part of the locking clamp. We just need to make sure, because that you can adjust that, undo it, do it up, undo it, do it up. If you screw that in, that adjusts the tension on this clamp. Yeah, so if you screw it in a lot, it makes it really tight to lock. Just undo it a bit. That should be as tight as you could feel comfortably, both in the open and the closed mode. Obviously I would say it's more important to have it as tight as you can when it's in the upright mode, because that's then going to make sure it's suitable for riding. And then the last ones is this one here, yeah, at the bottom of the pivot. When you do this one, you put an Allen key in this side and you put an Allen key in that side, it will move. They will move because the bolt locks against itself like that. So don't think you can't tighten it up, because if it's too tight, it won't pivot. Yeah, so it just tightens up against itself, the bolt on the other side. And then there's these two here. There's a 5mm Allen key this side, and there's two 4mm Allen keys that side for the kickstand. Again, they screw against each other, so you're going to need a 5mm coming in this way and a 4mm going in that way, and they tighten up against each other. And if you can get into a habit of doing that every few months, making sure it's clean, lubricated, and all the bolts and that are nice and tight, then your scooter is going to last you indefinitely. Again, same with the aluminium scooter. There's no substitute for keeping it clean and tidy. But now we've done that, we've lubricated it up. We're just going to go through and just check, make sure all the nuts and the bolts are tight, as we did with the other scooter here. So starting at the back in a clockwise motion, two 4mm Allen keys either side of the back axle. Just make sure that's tight. Come over to the top. The only thing you've got to worry about here really is the clamp, and then you've got a 5mm Allen key there just to adjust the clamp. You just need to make sure that is tight enough. I'd say it's a little bit loose, so we're just going to tighten it up a little bit more. There we go. Then that locks then in the mid position. It's not reliant on the nut. Yeah. So as we come down the scooter here, it's your front axle. Bolts here, 4mm Allen key, and it's the inside of them is in there. Yeah. So one each side, and just give them just make sure they're tight. Underneath, not really too much to worry about. You won't sort of have any problems with these decking screws here, and you won't normally have any problems with these steering screws here. But it may be worth putting the spanner on just to check. And the only other thing that I have forgot is this device here. These are called the B-springs, and that gives the spring back in the device of the steering. If you put a little drop of oil just on the springs, it just stops them going a bit rusty, because they are exposed to all the elements underneath there, and all the water and the moisture and the debris, and they just don't tend to dry out very well. So if you can put a little bit of oil on them, that might just help them stay in good condition for a longer period of time. And again, with the others, if you look after your scooter, maintain it, it's going to last you a long time.